What is going on, full-time family? Let me hit this light. There we go. Let there be light. What is going on, full-time family? It is time to talk about UFC 241. It's the morning after the fights. Last night we had Daniel Cormier versus Miocic headlining UFC 241. We all know how that went down. Stipe Miocic knocked out Daniel Cormier in an epic comeback performance. Daniel Cormier had won the first 3 rounds. He was outstriking Stipe Miocic. In the first round, he got a good slam with some airtime on Stipe Miocic, so he was winning the wrestling, winning the striking. He was just winning the fight overall until that 4th round. Miocic just found that body shot, and it was just DC couldn't adjust to the body shot at that point, and it was too late to go back to his wrestling. He was already hurt, and that's one thing that I think a lot of us were wondering watching the fight, like, man, your wrestling was so successful in the first round. Why did he get away from it? And Daniel Cormier admitted his coaches wanted him to get back to his wrestling, but he was just getting a little too confident on the feet. You know, he got the knockout in the first fight, so he wanted to probably show he could knock out Miocic again. It turned out bad for DC. But I'm going to make the case to you guys why easily, Daniel Cormier is still one of the greatest fighters, if not the greatest fighter of all time. It's not even a debate. Anybody who thinks otherwise is just not using their MMA mind. Maybe they're new to the sport. Maybe they're a casual fan. They don't know the history. Maybe they don't realize the magnitude of what Daniel Cormier's done. Maybe they don't know the record. Maybe they don't know about steroids. Maybe they don't care about steroids. But I'll easily make the case why Daniel Cormier is one of the greatest fighters of all time. It's out of 2 people. It's out of Daniel Cormier and George St. Pierre. And Daniel Cormier right now, I think, gets the nod still. Success in the two heaviest weight classes. George St. Pierre only had that 1 fight at middleweight. I mean, I know a lot of people want to say John Jones, but John Jones has never fought at more than 1 weight class. He's failed multiple drug tests. He's only beat Daniel Cormier before USADA. The second loss was overturned because one of those failed drug tests. So, and he's only fought at 1 weight class, so that's not my GOAT, not even close. You fell in multiple drug tests. You're not willing to fight at multiple weight classes. Like, okay, you're pretty good light heavyweight, I guess. But even then, that's the only guy to beat Daniel Cormier in that weight class. Daniel Cormier fought at light heavyweight. He's even beat guys at light heavyweight John Jones didn't beat. He beat Rumble Johnson twice. He fought Volkan Ozdemir already. He beat Alexander Gustafsson in a more decisive fashion than John Jones when they first fought. So Daniel Cormier cleared out the light heavyweight division. The only guy he ever lost to, and that's the 2nd heaviest weight class. I mean, when you talk about the baddest man on the planet, you're talking about the heavyweight champion. I mean, it's all nice and cute to say, you know, Demetrius Johnson is the pound-for-pound best fighter on the planet. But if he got in the cage with the heavyweight champion, that all the skill in the world is not going to save you. So the heaviest champion has always been the most impressive champion. With that being said, Daniel Cormier was the champion in the 2 heaviest weight classes. Not just the heavyweight, but also light heavyweight at the same time. And so he eclipsed that champ part of the sport, the era we're in now. He proved he was able to compete in the 2 heaviest weight classes and be successful. He knocked out everyone who's now saying, oh, Daniel Cormier is not the greatest heavyweight of all time. That's fine. I'm fine saying Stipe Miocic is the greatest heavyweight of all time. But if we're talking pound for pound, multiple weight classes, Stipe's never going to fight at another weight class. And oh, by the way, even if you want to have that debate, which you could still argue Daniel Cormier, because he already knocked out Stipe, people are acting like Stipe is 1-0 on Daniel Cormier. And they're acting like he didn't lose the first 3 rounds. People are acting like Daniel Cormier is not well-rounded. He was outstriking Stipe Miocic, who's one of the best boxers in the heavyweight division, for the first 3 rounds. If he didn't get knocked out, if he would have just ate those body shots and made it to another round, he would have won the fight, no matter how many body shots were landed. The only reason he lost is because he got knocked out. He already won the first 3 rounds. He already won the decision. He got finished. But now, look at it on paper. Daniel Cormier knocked out Miocic in the first fight and then won all 3 rounds. He only lost 1 round to Miocic. He won a whole fight, knocked him out, and won 3 rounds. He lost 1 round to Stipe Miocic. But he won 3 rounds and already knocked him out. So if you want to say Stipe knocked him out, okay, DC already knocked him out. So all we have left is Daniel Cormier won 3 rounds against Miocic. How would the rematch go? Who knows? Oh, by the way, Daniel Cormier's 40 years old. He's still competing with the greatest fighters of all time at 40 years old. Who does that? You guys think John Jones or Miocic is going to be competing at this high of a level? Or whoever your GOAT is? Do you think any of these other people in the GOAT conversation are going to be competing with the greatest fighters of all time at 40 years old? I don't. So it's not even a debate as to whether Daniel Cormier is still one of the greatest fighters of all time. Easily. 2 heaviest weight classes, won the belt, only lost 1 time to Miocic, but he already beat him once, so they're 1-1, and he already won 3 rounds in the fight that they lost. Oh, he lost to John Jones at light heavyweight? Oh, before USADA. The second fight was overturned because of a failed drug test. So he failed the drug test after USADA, and the only win was before USADA. Want to talk about an asterisk? We still have no clue how John Jones would do against how a clean John Jones would do against Daniel Cormier. We have no clue. So anybody putting John Jones over Daniel Cormier is admitting they don't care about steroids. They don't care about performance-enhancing drugs. Because Daniel Cormier's never failed a drug test, and John Jones has failed multiple. First fight, before USADA. Second fight, failed drug test. Okay, that's an easy case for Daniel Cormier to still be the greatest light heavyweight. We've never seen him fight a clean John Jones. And John Jones admitted he didn't want to fight Daniel Cormier at heavyweight. He said it out of his own mouth. That would be too much of a challenge. Did not want to go up a weight class like DC did. Like all the guys that are fighting John Jones, Thiago Santos, Anthony Smith, they went up a weight class. John Jones don't want to go up a weight class, though, to fight a guy that he's already beat. Oh, because USADA's on his motherfucking heels. So Daniel Cormier is still, I mean, who is the GOAT if not DC? If you say John Jones, no. USADA's got him, no. You say GSP, he only fought Bisping at 185. He didn't have near as much of a track record in another weight class. He had a great run at welterweight, but he hasn't proven he can transcend into multiple eras. The only guy GSP fought in this era was Michael Bisping, who's really not even from this era. He was the same era as GSP. Daniel Cormier has been fighting in multiple weight classes through multiple eras. He's the greatest fighter of all time. There's nobody else. Still after getting knocked out, he's still the GOAT. It's not even a debate, actually. He's still the GOAT. Multiple weight classes, the heaviest weight classes, multiple eras. Who's done that? Nobody. No fighter has ever done that. So, I mean, you can make your case, but it's not a good enough case against Daniel Cormier, even after losing. And I said this before the fight. I said, even if he loses this fight, he's still got a great case for GOAT. And now that I think about it, he is the GOAT. Oh, no, but he lost to Miocic. Oh, yeah, but he already knocked him out and beat him 3 rounds in the fight that he lost. Well, and he's 40 years old now. Miocic came back. He's still, 34, 35? Still way more in his prime than Cormier. This time that they've had off since the last fight this year, that affects Cormier a lot more than Miocic. Father Time is catching up and catching up and catching up and catching up in this whole year. And he still won 3 rounds. Outstruck him. Out-wrestled him. He lost the 4th round. That is it. Daniel Cormier is the GOAT, people. And oh, by the way, Alpha Cormier! Daniel Cormier said it multiple times. Daniel Cormier knows what's up. He's not making decisions out of emotion. He said it multiple times. He said it in his post-fight interview, and he said it in the post-fight press conference. Alpha Daniel Cormier, he said, a lot of times we base decisions in emotion. I don't want to be that guy. I'm going back to talk to my wife Selena and my coaches, and we'll figure out what's next. Losing is terrible for me. I'm a competitive guy, and just losing any type of fight is just terrible. Being finished is just insane. That's twice I've been stopped. That's not good. I'm smart enough to understand that. I felt like I was doing pretty good, but then he landed that shot in the 4th round, landed some good body punches, and he landed that right hand. I didn't see, and he got the finish. He did a great job. I kind of took the pressure off a little bit. I don't know why. maybe to try and rest and recover for a 5th round because he wasn't going anywhere. I don't know what the reasoning was behind it. Obviously, it was a mistake. I mean, and I think there's definitely something to that. Daniel Cormier was hitting Miocic with some big shots. That's also probably why he was not resorting back to his wrestling. He was landing some good shots, and Miocic was not going down. I mean, lesser men would have been knocked the fuck out from those shots Daniel Cormier was landing. He was landing some really good shots. And so when you hit somebody with all that you've got, and they're still coming, they're still there, you do start to get a little more tired. And so you're like, well, we got a 5th round. And so he took his foot off the gas, and that was the end of it. But he won the first 3 rounds. He was trying to think his way through the whole 5-round fight, being a championship fight, being a 5-round fight. And, you know, he was, I'm sure, all those heavy shots he was landing, it was taking a toll on him. Although, you know, he was having actually a pretty high volume of strikes, Daniel Cormier, which is why he was so confident on his feet. He said that was the strategy. That's probably the biggest letdown, how I let my coaches down. They were begging me to wrestle. That's probably the most disappointing thing, is that I didn't do what I trained to do. I feel like I let my coaches down. I think when you start finding success and landing things, you kind of fall in love with it. It feels like the Gustafsson fight all over again. When I wrestled a lot in the first round, in the last 4, I just didn't, and they were begging me to then. Tonight, I actually paid the ultimate price for not listening to my coaches. I'm usually pretty good about doing that. I mean, DC could still win the trilogy. I would love to see the trilogy. My only thing is, man, Father Time is catching up. So, I mean, is he going to be able to come up with the game plan, or is that body shot something that's now exposed on Daniel Cormier? Is he going to be able to stop that body shot? Because he couldn't adjust to it. Miocic could win the rematch, but right now it's for sure still up in the air. It's for sure. Right now it's still up in the air. We still have to give Daniel Cormier the respect and the benefit of the doubt that him and American Kickboxing Academy can put together a good enough game plan to stop that body shot. What can they do and come up with to fix that for the trilogy? But time is not on their side. I mean, a lot of people still want to see the John Jones fight. These guys want to do it at 205. That could still happen. We'll see, man. But Alpha Cormier not wanting to make decisions out of emotion, and that's what it's all about. And we already talked about Daniel Cormier's coaches begging him to wrestle, and he didn't listen. He said, like I said, when you start landing things, you start falling in love with your striking. It feels a lot better to punch a guy in the jaw than it does to, hold him down. The fans like to see it more. You're having success with your hands. Problem is, Stipe wasn't going down. And Stipe was able to start landing those body shots, and by then it was too late to wrestle. It was too late to resort back to the wrestling at that point. Stipe had already found the target. Nate Diaz willing to defend the baddest motherfucker in the game belt against Jorge Masvidal. This was the most shocking moment of the night to me. Nate Diaz called out Jorge Masvidal, and there's a saying, and you all know it: real recognize real. The reason it didn't surprise me, because the reasoning is completely makes sense. Nate Diaz has always supported Masvidal type of fighters, Diaz type of fighters. But Masvidal is just such a threat. It's like, who's going to call out their own, that's like some striker, coming up, trying to think of a really good wrestler in the division. Let's say there's some striker coming up in the featherweight division, and we know they're a striker. We know that's their base. We know their weakness is probably wrestling. It's like them coming out and calling out a wrestler, like, yo, I want to fight the best wrestler in the game right now. Like, what? You want to lose? Diaz versus Masvidal would be hell of a fight, but I'm telling you guys, and it's not even out of my Masvidal bias, because he's my favorite fighter of all time. It's just out of skill level. Masvidal would do bad things to Nate Diaz, guys. Nate Diaz would have a good chance if it went on the ground, but we've seen Masvidal survive against Maya. His jiu-jitsu is battle-tested. He trains with the American top team, best fight team on the planet, one of for sure. So that would be an amazing fight. I'm extremely excited that Nate Diaz, on the biggest stage in his most recent fight, after such an impressive performance, gave that spotlight to Jorge Masvidal, who deserves it. I've preached that for literally years now. Literally years now. I've talked about Jorge Masvidal being underrated, slept on, underappreciated. Even still, after what he's done, all this momentum, all the leverage he's got, people are acting like he's not deserving of a title shot. They're acting like he should fight Leon Edwards. No, not if you understand anything about this game. Masvidal is at a point right now where he's finally going to be able to collect on the dues he's paid, and Nate Diaz calling him out on the brightest stage, even if the fight don't happen, secured Masvidal's bag. There is no more Leon Edwards talk right now. You ain't getting none of this clout. Zero. You got a couple more fights, buddy. Masvidal is 100% getting a Diaz fight, a McGregor fight, or a title shot. And the title shot is going to be a tough task. Usman, Covington, either one are bad matchups for Masvidal, but he's shown he can beat anybody, any weight. So yeah, I'm not counting Masvidal out of a fight with Usman or Covington. I'm sure they're going to be watching for that flying knee. It's going to make it tough, but he's going to get what he deserves. And if not, he might even get the bag fighting Diaz or McGregor. Either way, Leon Edwards, back to the drawing board. I think he said something like, I'm only fighting title shot or Masvidal. You're going to be waiting quite some time, buddy. Waiting quite some time if that's the stance. But if Masvidal, Masvidal might fight once or twice, and then you can get the fight. But it's gonna be some time. But it was epic when Masvidal called out, or when Nate Diaz called out Masvidal. He talked about how he's a dude that even when I started fighting, he was already around back then, 2004, really fighting. Those are real fighters, not athletes that got into the sport, to be fighters, but fighters that got into the sport to do what they love, what they were already doing. That's why they don't have great wrestling bases, because people who fight, who are real fighters, the essence of fighting that come from the streets, they don't have good wrestling bases. And so that's why Nate Diaz respects Masvidal so much, because he's able to still be fighting at the highest level through multiple eras, sort of like Daniel Cormier. Nate Diaz says he has no idea who Colby Covington is. That was so funny. Oh, did you guys see that? Was it at the post-fight press conference? That was, Nate Diaz played it perfect. Oh, he played it so perfect. He played it so perfect. They said something, Colby Covington might be fighting. He said something about you, and he was like, who? They were like, Colby Covington, welterweight. He was like, yeah, I don't know who that is. Nate played it so perfect. I'm sure he knows who Covington is. Nate Diaz and Colby Covington have had some back and forths. I'm sure Nate Diaz knows who Colby Covington is, but man, if you were watching that, you sure wouldn't think so. He played it so cold. He killed Colby Covington. Colby Covington probably had 5 hot tweets after that, calling him all type of pothead, loser, slurring, stuttering. Colby's going to be mad. But Colby Covington's got to focus on Kamaru Usman, though, because that's a tough fight. I'm not going to lie, man. Kamaru Usman has been more dominant in his UFC fights. But even against Tyron Woodley, which is what's extremely impressive, but versus Covington, at first I felt like Kamaru was just going to win. But the more that I listen and consider, people talking about the fights, I'm kind of giving Covington a little more of a chance. I went back and looked at, one way pointed out the wrestling credentials in college, and Colby was wrestling at D1. Kamaru Usman was a 3-time All-American, I think, but in like D2. So Covington wrestled at a little bit of a higher level. He's still wrestles at a really high level. I just wonder the size. I wonder what, they're both welterweights, but Colby looked a little small in there against Robbie. So I wonder if Usman will have a little bit of a size advantage maybe, and that would help him out. But and if you want to talk about striking, I give Kamaru Usman the power advantage. He's definitely got the one-shot KO power. Covington, not so much, but Covington's, I think, got the technical striking advantage. So It's going to be a really competitive fight, I think. It's going to be a good one. I can't wait for that once it does happen, when they announce it. I think maybe Madison Square Garden. We're still waiting on that. But yeah, Colby Covington got no love from Nate Diaz. Now we got to talk about something that we talked about earlier this week. Masvidal calls Ben Askren a hoe for wanting to clear the air with Anthony Pettis. All right, so you guys recall Anthony Pettis went up to Yoel Romero and he said, yo, man, I was super happy when Masvidal knocked out Askren, even though he's my teammate. And that made a lot of people question, like, yo, what the hell? It didn't look good at all. Like, he went up to Yoel. It wasn't like Yoel approached him and was talking to him, like, what's up, man? And he was just being cordial. He went up to Yoel and was like, yo, man, what up? How's Masvidal? Or how's Jorge? And he was like, yeah, yo, when he got that knockout, I was super happy, even though it was my teammate. You know, Askren's my teammate. And so Askren, beta Askren, he did, you know, whenever he saw Woodley and Masvidal in the commercial, Woodley gave him a heads up. Yo, I'm getting paid. I got to do a shoot with Masvidal. It's nothing personal. You know, you're still my guy. I just got to do this commercial with Masvidal. So that already had some, you know, people like Dylan Dennis and the trolls of the MMA world and Colby Covington telling Askren, you need better friends. Look, he's doing photo shoots with Masvidal. Woodley was getting paid for that. That was different. Pettis, he went up to Yoel Romero. He's not getting paid to do this, and was said he's super happy about the knockout, even though it was his teammate. Super happy. And I can understand it, like in the Diaz sense. I'm super happy for somebody like Masvidal who has paid their dues to finally get this recognition. And that's probably what Pettis meant. But Beta Askren, he wants an apology. I don't know if he wants an apology, but he wants the air to be cleared. Dylan Dennis posted the video, you guys recall. I'll play it one time just for the people that haven't heard it.
How's Jorge doing?
Good, man. Good, man.
Good for him, bro. I was happy as
Yeah.
even though it's my teammate, man. That was beautiful as knockout.
You know, and Masvidal, like I said, any real fighter was super happy for Masvidal. And this just shows how much respect Masvidal really had from real fighters in the game. Even if Askren's my teammate, man, real recognizes real. And that's really what I think Pettis meant. Real recognizes real. We all know Masvidal's paid his dues. We all know Masvidal deserves this. That's why he was super happy. Even though it was my teammate, I was super happy, man. And the knockout was cold as fuck. Fastest knockout in UFC history. Much deserved. But it looked bad. It looked bad. And Ben Askren, he said, I agree, Dylan Dennis. This is unacceptable. Anthony Pettis and I are not best friends forever, but I thought we had a respect and a kinship where feelings and statements like this did not happen. I hope Anthony can clear this up and make his feelings transparent. I don't need fake friends. You said feelings too many times in that tweet. Beta Askren! Beta! I thought he had better feelings for me. He needs to make his feelings transparent. What? That reminds me of that fishnet pantyhose picture. That was not photoshopped, by the way. That was not photoshopped. It was not. But I'm not going to bring it up right now. I'm not going to pull it up. But yeah, man, so Ben Askren wanted the air cleared. He wanted to make his feelings known. And Masvidal said, he responded to this on Twitter. This is what Jorge Masvidal said. You're a great friend, Ben, asking someone to clear up the air the day of their fight and waste brain power on your feelings. Once a hoe, always a hoe. Super necessary. Boom! Roasted, as Ben Askren would say. Masvidal, that's a great point. Hold on, you're letting your feelings get in the way of your friend's fight. You don't know what he meant. You don't know if he was just like Big Full Time just pointed out. You don't know if he was just respecting somebody who had paid their dues. He didn't say he was super happy that you got knocked out. He didn't say, man, I was super happy my teammate got knocked out. He said, I was super happy for Masvidal. Even though that was my teammate, I was super happy for Masvidal. So now you're going to have all these, you're going to co-sign this fucking troll, Dylan Dennis, and have everybody in Anthony Pettis' tweets and mentions saying, oh, Ben, you're a bad teammate. Even Ben says it. You're going to distract your teammate because you got emotional and you don't even know the whole story. Beat Askren! No, that's not cool. Masvidal, that's a great point. You're going to agree with this troll Dylan Danish when your friend's got the biggest fight of his life. You don't even know the whole story. But you're still salty over the knockout. Clearly, you're going to distract. So if you guys were not best friends forever, why would you, but you know what I'm saying, you thought it was better than what Pettis was saying, then why would you distract him ahead of the biggest fight of his life and you don't even know the story yet? I don't know. Masvidal's got a point, guys. Hey, it is what it is, though. Paulo Costa, the Eraser, says, I can kill Israel Adesanya if he wins at UFC 243. I'm not interested in being a backup, though. You got to heal up a little bit, man. That was a hell of a fight with Paulo Costa and Yoel Romero, two battle tanks going back and forth, just landing blows, going blow for blow, knockdown, fucking Paulo Costa stalking Romero. Oh, what a fun fight. It lived up to the hype. I didn't even think it could live up to the hype, but boy, it did. What a fight. I'm glad that USADA let that shit through. Paulo Costa is going to be a problem until they find out how he's beating the system. And he's going to be a problem. He's taking some of the best fighters and he's just walking them down. He's not scared. He's just coming forward. He's just way bigger. Just ready to crush shit. And Adesanya's a small middleweight. Oh, by the way, he just destroyed Yoel Romero. Robert Whittaker fought some wars with Romero. You think Robert Whittaker, after these injuries and these wars, can deal with the fucking young version of Yoel? I mean, they're different style fighters, but as far as athletic killers, he's going to have to deal with the young battle tank bot, Paulo Costa. I think Paulo Costa at this point might be a problem for Whittaker or Adesanya. Adesanya might have a better chance if he can keep the fight at range and land. I don't know. He'd have to fucking find a way to pick Paulo Costa apart. But Paulo Costa's just gonna come forward trying to take you out, take your head off. But I'll tell you this, Paulo Costa definitely is ready for a title shot. You beat Yoel Romero like that, you're definitely ready for a title shot. Some people felt like that was a robbery. I think they're smoking. I think they might have just been biased toward Yoel or something. But man, Paulo Costa, he you know, it's personal with him and Adesanya. They've had they were supposed to fight a while ago. They could have fought a while ago. And now here they are, both up toward the title. And good thing the UFC decided to save this fight because they both made their way to the top of the division. And now the fight's going to be that much bigger because it could be for a title if Adesanya manages to beat Robert Whittaker. But even if Robert Whittaker wins, man, if Whittaker, I really feel like Adesanya might be a better matchup against Paulo Costa. I feel like Costa might just beat Whittaker. Even though Whittaker's my boy and he's talented, but he's just been through those wars with Romero. Paulo Costa just ran through Romero. Whittaker's been inactive a little bit due to injuries, so he's going to have to be 100% to deal with Paulo Costa. And that would be still a battle. Maybe he can drag him into the 4th and 5th rounds. We haven't seen Paulo Costa fight a 5-round fight yet. That's something that could be maybe a potential weakness people could try and exploit. But it's going to be tough to make it there. He's coming forward and he's throwing heat. John Jones and Chael Sonnen having a little bit of a back and forth over here. John Jones reacting to Daniel Cormier's knockout. He's like, oh, now we can finally put an end to these pound-for-pound talks, even though that's not true. Like I already pointed that out in the beginning, that's not true. Daniel Cormier is still pound-for-pound #1, still the GOAT, and he's still the greatest light heavyweight and potentially heavyweight of all time. Miocic holds the record. He just got the win, but they're 1-1 in Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier has won 4 rounds. Miocic has won 1 in both fights. So we got to see the trilogy, and we don't know what would happen right now. And even then, like I said, Miocic isn't doing this at 40 years. Daniel Cormier is doing this at 40 years old. Miocic is still more in his prime. John Jones still more in his prime. Daniel Cormier has transcended multiple weight classes, multiple eras, unlike John Jones or Miocic. John Jones is just salty that Daniel Cormier took his spot and everything he worked for because he couldn't get his shit together. And so it doesn't matter what John Jones thinks. He's biased. Of course he doesn't think Daniel Cormier is pound for pound number one. And of course he doesn't think he's the greatest heavyweight of all time. But ain't nobody worried about what John Jones got to say. Bye, Felicia. You're fighting middleweights, dog. Ducking Corey Anderson. What you talking about? John Jones says, "Lil, you mad, bro?" John Jones and Chael Sonnen got into it a little bit. You know, they've been bitter rivals for quite a while. Chael Sonnen pointed out, he said, he said over time John Jones is going to have to move weight classes if he wants to be remembered. He needs to expand. He needs to show on some level that he can go out there and compete with Cormier clean. I don't think he realizes how quick that clock is winding down. He will not be the world champion at 35 years old. He absolutely will not be. He likely will not even be on the main event or co-main event by 36 years old. By 37 years old, he'll be fighting for his place in the sport. That's just the way it goes. And not for Daniel Cormier. You know, he's still competing at the highest level at 40. But, you know, like I said, everybody's not Daniel Cormier. So that's pretty high. You know, that's a high goal to shoot for. So John Jones said, "You mad, bro?" He said, "I know he's not. I crushed his dreams. I can hear the bitterness when the snake speaks. I'm sure he'll appreciate this podcast acknowledgement, though. Oh, you know Chael's going to love it. He's going to have videos responding to John, and he's going to have some heat for him." But let's just take a look at John Jones' Twitter, because he hasn't just been going back at Chael Sonnen. He threw some shots at, who was it? Was it Ben Askren? I think it was. He said, "Oh, slap Izzy in Africa." Let's take a look. He's talking about Chael Sonnen here. He said, "I beat your ass in less than 2 minutes. Obviously, you're going to have bogus things to say. I can see you in a barbershop at 75 talking about what it takes to be a champion and telling your made-up John Jones stories. Thanks for sharing your amazing imagination." He said, got beat by a bunch of the best, and somehow that makes you credible. How cool would it be if there was a 205, 215, 225-pound championship belt? Triple champ? If not, why not? Who stops it at what weight? How about me slapping Izzy in Africa? That would be huge. I mean, if Israel Adesanya could beat Whitaker, which is a good possibility, honestly. Chael Sonnen has talked about this too. He said, "Man, Izzy versus John Jones is a real thing. That would be the biggest fight in the sport. And if in Africa, I mean, it would just make it that much bigger, honestly. Israel Adesanya versus John Jones in Africa. Sign me up. I'm going back to the motherfucking motherland, dog." John Jones says, "Man, I've always wanted to visit Africa. I really need to make that happen. You guys can tell I'm starting to get hungry. I haven't heard anything about my next fight yet." Moving on, he said, where's the shit he said about Ben Askren? I know, he responds to a lot. He was responding to a lot of fans on Twitter. Of course, he was active during Daniel Cormier's fight. He said, "Nobody's safe until I get a fight." All right, here we go. Now he's responding to Chael Sonnen again. He says, "And you've beaten some of the best. Nobody believes a word you say. I literally almost broke my foot off in his ass." I want to see. Look, he started to go at Ben Askren with Beta Askren. He started to go at him for the whole. This is unacceptable, Dylan Dennis. We're not BFFs, but my feelings and your feelings are better. Make your feelings clear. John Jones said, "You mad?" John Jones. That one made me laugh when I first read it. "You mad, bro?" That's crazy. John Jones, he went on and said, "Let me stop, man. This was not my business." But yeah, man, if you guys haven't been following John Jones on Twitter, he's been letting loose on people. But that's really all we got. Oh, wait, we got one more thing to talk about. We got Amanda Nunez set to return at UFC 245. The motherfucking lioness, the motherfucking GOAT is back. And she's fighting Jermaine Durandamy. You know what this means? Cyborg's not re-signing with the UFC. My ears itch. That means I got money on the way. Let's go. Cyborg's not re-signing with the UFC. Because if she was re-signing with the UFC, then they would book that fight, the rematch, because it's a win-win for the UFC, and the UFC would love to have Cyborg versus Nunez too. because if Nunez wins, they have the GOAT. If Cyborg wins, they get the trilogy. So the UFC would love the fight, but they're not going to overpay Chris Cyborg if she loses. She's going to want championship pay even if she's not the champion. And the only way you can be the champion is if you beat Amanda Nunez. And, if you're not confident you can beat Amanda Nunez, it might be better to go take a deal with Bellator where you'll have low risk, high reward, because the UFC is high risk, high reward. And I think it just makes sense for anybody, me, you, Cyborg, Conor McGregor, Masvidal, Daniel Cormier, John Jones, low risk, high reward. That's just what most people tend to go for. I mean, it's security. And so it doesn't look like Cyborg's going to be re-signing with the UFC. Germaine de Randamie is dangerous, you guys. Germaine de Randamie is dangerous. She's knocked out a man before, even though it was more like a fan that trained for like 30 days. It wasn't like a trained fighter. But I'm just saying, she's got knockout power. We just saw her knock out Askren-Pettis in the first round. She fought Holly Holm to a decision at 145. That fight actually makes me think Amanda Nunez will probably just fucking knock her lights out. And I would love to see that. I would love to see Amanda Nunez just bounce division to division, just eating these girls literally like a lion. Just boom, GDR knockout. Who wants it next? Vieira, bow, bow, beat her down. Go back up to 145. What, you want a rematch for Felicia Spencer? You don't want a couple fights? Boom, you're done. Go back down to 135. Who's got the next title shot? Oh, I got a fucking Kat Zingano's back. I got to knock her ass out. Get that. Oh, just go back and forth weight classes, just fucking knocking bitches out. I would love, I mean, if you're doing it weight class to weight class, that is way better than just one division where there's no competition. Weight class, that's impressive. So I can't wait for GDR versus Nunez. It's actually a good fight. GDR's got some power. She's got knockout power. She's got legit striking. Is Nunez going to utilize her wrestling in this fight a little more? Is she going to try and knock GDR out? And just, it's a great fight. So yeah, man, aside from that, that's pretty much all we got to talk about. I'm going to pull up the chat, give a couple shout outs and read a couple comments, and then make sure you guys sign up for the Discord. If you haven't already, click the Discord link in the description. I said sign up like you have to sign up. You just click the link in the description. It's a 24/7 chat. We're always talking MMA, contender series for the fights. There's a live chat. It's really cool. So click the link in the description. We got Dennis Espinosa in the chat. He says, Ngannou is the future. Chase Skillz says, onions for Cyborg fans. Pyrotechnique says, good morning. Beta Cyborg fans. Pyrotechnique says, good morning, full-time family. Nunez, lesbian power is something else. Play Fire Snoop says, Valentine T. It's over there on UFC Yankovic, brother. I would play it, but, YouTube, they're going to just take every single ad penny if you play your own remake of a song. So I'll just leave it over there if you want to check it out. Check out UFC Yankovic. John Doe says Maya gonna beat Askren. Oh, that would be crazy if he just choked him out in the first round. That would be crazy. He says Cyborg spanned time eras, yet you do not apply the same logic to her. She didn't span time eras. She hasn't fought anybody in this era that she didn't. Nunez span time eras. Cyborg can't beat Nunez. There's nobody. Cyborg would have to beat Kayla Harrison to transcend time eras because there's no. She's fighting the same. It's the same situation. It's girls that are not on her level, right? It's a bunch of bantamweights that are coming up. It's not like she's fighting girls that are on Nunez's level and beating them. Nunez is beating the best fighters in the world at their weight class. So that would be the difference. And Cyborg is still one of the greatest fighters of all time. I'm not saying she's not. I'm just saying she can't beat Nunez for sure. Cyborg is still number 2. I mean, I've never not said that. Cyborg is still the second best WMMA fighter of all time. The fact is she cannot beat Nunez, and that's why she's going to Bellator. But I've never denied that Cyborg is one of the greatest female fighters of all time. One way says only suspect thing about Colby is his jiu-jitsu. And he got choked out once, but he trains with ATT. I'm not worried about his jiu-jitsu at all. Somebody watches Jesse Lee Peterson. Oh, I definitely watch Jesse Lee Peterson, man. That's, Church is in an hour and a half. You know what I'm saying? GSP 2 division champ and has second longest defense in UFC history. See, you say 2 division champ like that's real. That's the most up for debate, two-division champ of all. He came back for one fight against Michael Bisping, who wasn't even new era, so he didn't even prove he could transcend the new era. George St. Pierre didn't fight anybody from this era. He fought Michael Bisping, who was from his era. Now it's his only fight at 185. Whenever he was in his prime, he didn't want to go up to 185. When Silva was the champ, they couldn't ever make the fight happen. He only came back to fight Bisping, who was a favorable matchup, and after that he left. So that is not near as impressive as Daniel Cormier's run at an even heavier weight class. Daniel Cormier went undefeated at this weight class, knocked out the greatest heavyweight of all time at the time, Stipe Miocic, and then just beat him 3 rounds, striking. Even though Daniel Cormier is a wrestler, he just outstruck Stipe Miocic for 3 rounds till he got knocked out. And it's the heaviest weight classes. It's not just a 10, 15-pound gap. These are 20. This is a 35-pound jump. He went from weighing in at 205 to weighing in at 240 pounds, 243 pounds. So he went up 40 pounds, still beating the best guys in the world. So the pound for pound there is just different to me. GSP's never, and he was old. He was the old era. GSP hasn't transcended eras like Daniel Cormier has when he's beaten, Rumble Johnson, Volkan Ozdemir, and Derrick Lewis, and Stipe Miocic, and all the guys of this era that are still fucking killers. And he was beating the guys of the yesteryears, the Roy Nelsons, the Frank Mears, the Rumble Johnsons, the Gustafsons. Woo! Y'all got Daniel Cormier figgity fucked up. That's the GOAT. No ifs, ands, or buts. And it's not even up for debate. It's not GSP. It's not John Jones. It's not Demetrius Johnson. It's not motherfucking Nunez. Is no. I'm saying she's starting to make a case, but no. It's Daniel Cormier, and it's easy. With that being said, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you on the Discord. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. I'm out.